Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for a deep dive that'll leave you thinking about justice in small towns? We're going to be looking into the 1987 murder of Karina Mullen in Central City, Kentucky.
Oh, this one's a doozy.
It really is. And the main source for this deep dive is a truly fascinating episode of the true crime podcast, Case File.
Case File does a great job with this one.
Yeah, they really lay it all out. This case is a wild ride, though, let me tell you. It seems straightforward at first, then goes ice cold for years.
Yeah, typical small town murder.
Exactly. Then, bam, out of nowhere, it explodes into a conspiracy that's more shocking than anything you could imagine.
This case really highlights how we can put our trust in the wrong people and the wrong institutions. And it's a reminder that the road to justice, man, sometimes it's incredibly long and incredibly challenging, especially when you got to confront authority figures.
It really is.
Yeah.
And just when you think you've got it figured out, bam, another twist comes out of nowhere. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about Karina. She was a 20-year-old single mom. It's important that we understand who Karina was.
Right.
Her sister describes her as having this radiant personality. She was full of energy, loved to laugh, and was totally devoted to her little girl, Stephanie, who was only 2 at the time. It really hits home when you realize how much was lost.
It really does, yeah. Karina's life was tragically cut short. And the brutality of her murder is what initially gripped Central City. That and the mystery of it all.
Right.
Picture this, a small town where everyone knows each other, right? And then, on October 2nd, 1987, Karina's car is found abandoned behind a municipal garage. They open the trunk and find her body naked, wrapped in a blanket.
Oh, God.
And so brutally beaten, she was almost unrecognizable.
Wow. It's hard to even imagine the shock and fear that must have gripped the community.
Right.
Finding a body under those circumstances would make anyone wonder if a serial killer was on the loose.
Absolutely.
Right.
That sense of uncertainty and fear would be palpable.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's when the local police enter the picture, Muhlenberg County Sheriff Harold Mullen and Central City Police Lieutenant Billy Fields. And what's interesting is that Lieutenant Fields actually knew Karina. She had done some clerical work at the police station.
Wait a minute, hold on. The lead investigator on the case actually knew Karina.
Yeah, so there was already this level of familiarity between them. But, well, as the story unfolds, that connection takes on a much darker and more disturbing meaning.
Oh, boy. So the police immediately zeroed in on Karina's boyfriend, Jimmy Springer.
Right.
They had a bit of a rocky relationship, and some witnesses said they saw him in her car that night.
So just like that, he becomes the prime suspect.
Right. It's almost like they jumped to conclusions.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it happens, right? They focus on Springer, maybe overlook other possibilities, and the evidence against him, it was largely circumstantial.
Exactly.
The assumptions about his character, about his relationship with Karina, it seems like that really fueled the investigation.
Springer always maintained his innocence, though, right?
Right.
And he even provided an alibi. Plus, there wasn't any strong physical evidence actually linking him to the crime.
It's true. But that doesn't mean he didn't still have this cloud of suspicion hanging over him. He was acquitted at trial, but the damage was done. I mean, imagine being labeled as a murderer, even if you're cleared.
That's got to be tough.
The case goes cold. The police have no other leads, and Karina's family is left with no justice and a mountain of unanswered questions.
Sounds like a dead end.
It does. But little did they know, the most shocking twists were yet to come.
Here's where things take a truly unexpected turn.
Yeah.
The Mullen family finally gets Karina's car back, and tucked under the driver's seat, they find a blood-covered knife.
Whoa, wait, hold on. They find a blood-covered knife, like, in the car.
Yeah.
How was this how did they not find this during the initial investigation?
Right. It's mind-boggling. And even with this shocking discovery, the Kentucky State Police, who now have the case, hit a wall.
So close, but still no answers.
Yeah, the knife doesn't lead them to any new suspects, and as the years pass, hope starts to dwindle.
It's a long wait for Karina's family and friends. The trail runs cold, and it seems like the truth might be lost forever. But hold on. This is where the deep dive takes an incredible turn, and trust me, you won't believe what happens next.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Let's get into it. Fast forward to 2006, almost 2 decades after Karina's murder.
Wow, a long time.
A woman named Sarah comes forward, and she completely changes the course of this investigation.
Oh.
She was only 16 at the time of Karina's death.
So young.
Yeah, but she witnessed the whole thing, and what she describes is absolutely horrifying.
Can you imagine being Sarah?
Yeah.
Carrying that secret all those years? It must have been so heavy.
Yeah, the fear, the guilt. When she finally spoke up, it was like a bomb went off in Central City. And it really reframed our understanding of Lieutenant Billy Fields.
Right, no longer just a cop who maybe messed up the investigation. Now he's involved in this whole horrific thing.
Exactly.
So what exactly did Sarah reveal? What happened that night?
Well, she describes being abducted by Billy Fields and another man, Jeffrey Boyd. They take her to Karina's apartment, and that's where she was forced to watch this whole horrible scene unfold.
Oh, God.
Fields, Boyd, and another man named Jimmy Kramer brutally beat and raped Karina.
This is just awful.
They even forced Jimmy Springer to participate.
Wow. So he was involved, but not willingly.
Right, and get this, Karina's roommate, Angela, she was there the whole time, but she was too terrified to intervene.
Oh, my gosh. To be a witness to that, it's unimaginable.
Absolutely. And Sarah's testimony, it provides this harrowing firsthand account, but it also expands the scope of the investigation.
Right. It's no longer just about Fields. It's this whole network of people.
Exactly.
Mm.
And after the attack, Sarah was forced to drive Karina's car with her body in the trunk to the location where it was eventually found. Fields threatened her, warned her to keep quiet.
Just horrific. It's no wonder she waited years to come forward.
Her decision to finally break her silence is it's incredibly brave, and it completely changes the trajectory of the investigation. Sarah's testimony leads Kentucky State Police Detective Damon Fleming to reopen the case.
So Detective Fleming steps in now, and he's willing to look into one of his own.
Exactly, and Detective Fleming, he's a breath of fresh air in this case.
How so?
Well, he approaches it without the baggage of the previous investigation, without the assumptions and the potential biases. He's willing to follow the evidence wherever it leads, even if it points to one of his fellow officers.
So what does he find?
He uncovers this whole shocking truth. Fields wasn't just a bad cop. He was running this criminal enterprise, a drug and theft ring, with Springer, Boyd, and Kramer as his accomplices.
So wait, are you saying that Karina's murder wasn't just a random act of violence?
No, not at all. It was planned. And the motive, it gets even more twisted. Karina had filed a police report implicating Springer and Boyd in these illegal activities.
Whoa, so Fields had her killed to cover his tracks.
Exactly. Fields, fearing exposure, decides to silence her permanently. And as Detective Fleming digs deeper, even more evidence emerges to support Sarah's account. Several witnesses come forward, confirming that they had seen Fields and Boyd with Karina, directly contradicting Fields' previous statements.
So the pieces start falling into place, and it all points back to this conspiracy that was hidden for years.
And it was Sarah's bravery, Detective Fleming's commitment to uncovering the truth, and the courage of other witnesses who finally broke their silence that allowed justice to prevail.
So after all these years, the truth finally comes out. What happens next? Are Fields and his accomplices finally held accountable?
Yes, they are. After a long wait, justice is served. Arrests are made. Fields, Kramer, and Boyd are all charged with rape, kidnapping, and murder. Even Angela Smith, Karina's roommate, is charged for her failure to intervene.
What about Angela? Did she say why she didn't help Karina?
She maintains that she was too afraid to act, but it was a powerful moment. The people who thought they were above the law, who used their power to silence and intimidate, are finally facing the consequences of their actions.
It's a classic case of a carefully constructed facade crumbling under the weight of truth. What happened at the trial?
The trial becomes a media sensation, and Sarah's testimony, along with the mountain of evidence that Detective Fleming has gathered, is just incredibly damning. Fields tries to claim his memory is hazy, that he can't recall the events of that night, but the jury sees right through his lies.
It's a relief that the jury can see the truth.
After years of waiting, wondering if they would ever see justice served, they finally get their answer. Fields and Boyd receive life sentences. Kramer gets 60 years.
Wow, so they're going to be in prison for a long time.
Yeah, but the scars of this case run deep, especially for Karina's daughter, who grew up without her mother.
It's a reminder of the lasting impact of violence and injustice.
And tragically, both Claude and Patricia, Karina's parents, pass away before they can see the full resolution of the case.
That's incredibly sad. They fought so hard for justice, only to be robbed of the opportunity to witness it fully realized. It speaks volumes about their strength and their unwavering love for their daughter. This case really impacted Central City. I mean, this wasn't just some random crime. This is a total betrayal of trust, and at the highest level.
It really makes you think about the people we're supposed to trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it shakes your faith in the whole system.
Absolutely. And then you've got the Mullen family, who had to wait so long for answers.
Yeah.
Claude Mullen, Karina's father, he never gave up on getting justice for his daughter.
He sounds like an amazing man. I mean, just imagine the strength it took to keep fighting even when the case seemed hopeless.
Even after the convictions, Claude still visited Karina's grave every week. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been. But at least he knew her killers were finally behind bars. It's just heartbreaking that both he and Patricia passed away before seeing the full resolution of the case.
It is, it really is. But their dedication, it played a huge role in finally getting to the truth.
And think about it, if Sarah hadn't spoken up, who knows if any of this would ever come to light?
Right. One person carrying all that weight for years. Her decision to come forward was amazing.
It really was. She changed everything.
Yeah. She exposed the truth about what was really happening in Central City.
So, after all of this, after this deep dive into the Karina Mullen case, what do you think is the biggest takeaway?
For me, it's a reminder that no matter how long it takes, no matter how powerful the people involved are, the truth has a way of coming out. And that's why we can't give up on justice.
This case really has been a roller coaster, hasn't it? It makes you think about the complexities of truth and justice. And even though it's a tough story, it does give you a sense of hope, knowing that there are people out there who will stand up and fight for what's right.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive. It's a story we won't soon forget. The fight for justice, the resilience of the human spirit, and the power of one voice to make a difference. Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and never stop searching for the truth.